What are you drowning in? Some of us have been emptying our garages. Some of us have been getting the photos into albums. Some of us have been almost paralyzed with loneliness because we've been cut off from our friends. This pandemic has been teaching us about drowning. We're drowning in loneliness. We're drowning in unneeded possessions. We're drowning in misinformation and political division. Some of us are bobbing up on the surface of the flood. Some of us are so deep under the water that the light is gone and the bubbles are not coming up anymore. It is the first Sunday in Lent when we begin the journey to Good Friday and the cross in Jerusalem. So now is the moment to take stock and see what we're drowning in. Because we are all drowning in something. Left to our own devices, we'll continue to drown. Those of you who have cleaned out a closet or created a crazy recipe to clear out some of the weird stuff in your pantry, how do the shelves look right now? Pretty much the same, right? Because what you were drowning in before has just been replaced by more of the same, only with expiration dates that are farther in the future. So now is the time to leave the waters of the flood and return to the waters of baptism. That is the invitation of Lent, to pivot and take a different path. And to take that path with a good conscience and a righteous companion, to take that path with Jesus. Jesus knows that taking that path, following God's plan, doing good, fighting for justice, all that will lead to suffering. Jesus knows that taking that path will make you vulnerable. The world will see you doing good and standing up for justice and will persecute you. Or at least make your life more difficult, more full of shame. And the way to make the suffering go away is to go with the flow. Stop doing good. Stop standing up for justice. Lent is a time when we look at the world as it is. We look at ourselves as we are. And we reflect on what our baptism could change if we let it. In our baptism, Jesus claimed us. Jesus promised us that the one passage through the waters of baptism would provide as many resets as we needed. We could keep following Jesus, keep being vulnerable, keep suffering, to stay with that plan, and Jesus would be right there with us. Every step, every flutter kick, every dog paddle of the way. Jesus would be right there with us because Jesus suffered too. Our baptism, it doesn't eliminate suffering, it guarantees it. If we are going to accept Jesus, do good in the world, fight for justice, we are going to suffer. Somehow, it seems we have decided that suffering is a sign of failure, is something to be feared. Jesus suffered and suffered terribly because he stuck with his mission of reconciling us with God, of giving us a new path back to a right relationship with God. Jesus accompanies us as we suffer. Jesus not only models a life full of suffering, Jesus shows us what it is like to accompany those who suffer. Because sometimes the only thing we can do is accompany people. The willingness to be wounded may be all we have to offer. Whatever battering we take in the flood, whatever vulnerabilities are exposed, whatever shame is heaped upon us, Jesus has claimed us. Jesus, who knows what it is to suffer in this world, has claimed us. Jesus, who has gone into heaven and is at the right hand of God with the angels, authorities, and powers made subject to him, has claimed us. In the chaos and the flood, in the struggle to keep from drowning, in the fight to do good and justice in this world, regardless of what the world thinks, it is easy to forget that we are claimed by the one of infinite power and compassion. In the heart of the flood, it is easy to forget that the risen, living Lord is the one who has claimed us. It is the risen, living Lord who will provide the strength we need to return to the promise of our baptism. During Lent, it is time to ask, what are you drowning in? During Lent, it is time to ask, how can your baptism save you? Amen.